Let's just start with you first, Professor Siegel. Could you make the case for optimism, the case for why the NBER is perhaps being the cowardly lion?
Well, I think, whether it ended in July or August is very secondary. I mean, it might be important for history, but certainly anyone looking forward, it has ended. It is absolutely over. There's no chance of a double dip. It's a question of them just finding that 9 months ago when they think it's going to be over. So, I mean, we take a look at the employment data, household over 1 million jobs added. We look at the consumption data has been unbelievable. This last quarter, when we get the data, 3.5% increase in consumption with no stimulus, no tax stimulus, no other stimulus, just a little bit on the spending side, but the first time none on the other side. Retail sales are accelerating March to April. I mean, all the forecasters that I'm in contact with say, yeah, the debate's over. It's a recovery. It's a question of just how strong, whether it's going to be a 3% GDP or a 5% GDP growth.
Professor Shiller, are you convinced?
I thought it was interesting that just a minute ago, Jim Perturba said that we don't do forecasting. The whole concept of a recession it wouldn't be, as Jeremy was saying, it wouldn't be interesting if we're just dating the month when it happened. But the concept of a recession affects our confidence, and I think it's very significant that the dating committee didn't. Martin Feldstein has expressed worries about a double dip, and I think I'm with him on that. And I wonder if Perturba is being completely accurate in saying that it's just a matter of picking the month.
Well, he did say when I asked that question, there were two ways that they could be afraid to call the end, right? One, because they can't pick the month last year, and another because there was a fear we could have another drop down. He didn't take a drop down off the table.
He's sounding like a real technocrat.
Yes, he did. I will give you that.
The only reason we care is because...
I'm splitting hairs, yes.
But I think Marty Feldstein and others are worried. It's not like we're out of this. We're in a situation where the government has supported a lot. It's withdrawing support. We have a too big to fail problem. We have a national debt problem. We have things weighing on our confidence. And you can't just look at month to month and say it's okay now for the future, because people are worried.
So let's, if you could give me where you think the biggest risk to a double dip is, and then Professor Siegel could respond to whether he's worried about it, and if not, why. Where does it come from, Professor Shiller? Is it in the housing market? Where is the biggest risk for a double dip?
Well, as Burns and Mitchell said, who really invented our concept of a recession, it's a global economic thing. In fact, it's a world economic thing. There's some co-movement in a lot of economic variables. It seems to go one way for a while and then another for another while. Now, in my recent book, Animal Spirits, I argued that it is substantially due to changes in confidence. So if you ask where would it would come from some seemingly mysterious downturn in confidence. And the confidence indexes have come up, but they're kind of wobbling around, and it could go back down. And that's my worry.
Professor Siegel, what's your response to the concern about confidence?
Well, we're going to get some confidence data this month. But what's interesting is we got last month some bad confidence data, and yet it seems like people are spending more than the confidence data shows. I agree with my good friend Bob. This was a severe global recession. But, when you look outside the United States, particularly outside of Europe, which is having its own problems with the euro and Greece, emerging markets are already above where they were at the peak of the business cycle back in 2007. So it's really, it's a worldwide recovery, and that's one thing that gives me confidence that this isn't just a blip that's going to disappear in a few months.
Professor Siegel, will housing prices then go up? Single most important asset for most Americans. Will we see improvement there this year?
Well, that is, and Bob is right, this has been the slowest sector to recover. It's still in the doldrums. It was the most overbuilt sector. But I don't think we need to have a boom in that sector in order to drive our economy forward.
And a final word to you, Professor Shiller. Please weigh in on the housing question. And Diana Olick, our housing reporter, is just noting a lot of the buzz out there, and it's buzz, but still worth a question here, that a lot of people are spending more in the retail arena because they're not paying their mortgages, which would certainly put a dent in the whole argument of a recovery in spending, wouldn't it?
Well, we know that mortgage defaults are up and mortgage foreclosures are up. In some sense, there might be a silver lining in that, but basically, it's worrisome.
That's sort of a sordid silver lining. A soiled silver lining, how about that?